Vipi Majama, welcome to Real Talk Kenya. So there's this episode, so this is Love podcast. It's about this lady anaitwa Sophia and the guy anaitwa Bumpy. It's actually a 2-hour episode, and so I wanted us to check it out and then see what it's all about. So without further ado, let's get started.
Bumpy and I coincidentally met at a smocha stand. I was very new to the area where we met. So at the time I was a waitress. So I was very new. It was the first time we moved there. It was my first time having a shift that I needed to clock in at night. So I was able to explore the area during the day. And this specific stand where we met, I'd go by my smochers there a lot of times. I'd see him on and off. But since I was always so tired, I'd just buy what I'm buying, talking to the guy who sells my smochers, and then go back home.
What's a smocher? Is it a smoky? I'm a bit confused.
A smocher is a combination of a chapati and a smoky. It's put together. Yeah. So this one specific day, as I was a waitress, I was also still a student. So this one time I needed to write assignment for school. My laptop crashed. So the only person I knew in the area at that time was the smocher selling guy. So I go to him and I'm like, I need a laptop. I need to write reports and I'll bring your laptop back in 3 hours max. He's like, cool, but my laptop is very old. Word does not work and all that. So I was like, okay, that can't help. So Bumpy was there when I was asking for a laptop. So when my smocher guy said he doesn't have, I was just like, let me figure it out. So I started walking away. Bumpy followed me, tapped my shoulder. He's like, I've seen you around. I can help you with the laptop. I was like, perfect. I promise I'll get it back in 3 hours, tops. He's like, sure. He walks me to my gate. He's like, let me walk you to your gate, see where you stay, and then I can go home, grab my laptop, and then bring it back. So let me get your number. So instead of just knocking the gate, I just call you and then you can come out. I was like, sure. That's what happened. He gave me the laptop. He's like, this laptop, I don't even use it. It just stays in the house. So what you'll do is just use it until you're able to fix your own laptop. And I was like, sure. He would text. But since our schedules were very different, me being a waitress and a student, and him being someone who works an 8 to 5, the dynamics of communication aren't working, like probably to his favor. So on days I'm off shift or on offs is when we'd communicate, which was okay because I was not really interested in him. And then on meeting him, I was pregnant. And I was very young, I was 20. So I explained to him on one day, I think 3 weeks later, we've spoken. I now told him I need to bring your laptop back. I fixed my laptop, so I'm good. Thank you. So we meet after work. I was off. He's off work. So he comes in a suit, fully dressed. He looked so nice. I was so impressed. I was just like, wow, he looks very nice. And then my mind just clicked. You think he looks nice and you're pregnant. And then at the time I was pregnant, the person who impregnated me didn't want the pregnancy. So I was just with it, like it's me and this pregnancy. So my mind is just like snapped back into reality. So I looked at him, I was like, okay, you look nice, but thank you. We talked, we stood outside the gates, we talked for like 20 minutes. And I went back to the house. So at this time I'm staying with my mom, of course. My mom was a bit bitter, of course, because I'm 20, I'm pregnant, I'm juggling waitressing and school. So she wasn't happy that she'd see me, of course, talking to another man, because in her head, as an African mom, she's just thinking, hey, you've not even finished the first one, now you're into another one, surely. So I got home on this specific day and my mom is furious. She's like, why are you talking to men? And I'm like, chill. It's just I was returning the laptop that was helping me doing my assignments as I fixed mine. She's like, okay. But we still continued talking with Bumpy. So we kept tabs here, there, which was okay. I didn't mind it. It would be memes, nothing that would make me like keep quiet or ghost him. So we'd exchange memes, we'd laugh, we'd share reels, and always on WhatsApp. I remember him having a car. So this one time, I wanted to go to the clinic because I was pregnant. So it's my first time going to the clinic. I was nervous. And Bumpy had told me that he had a daughter. So before telling him I was pregnant, he had already told me I have a daughter. She's the apple of my eye. She's the reason I live, breathe, and all that. And I was like, that's nice. So on this day, I wanted to go to the clinic. Bumpy was the first person I thought to call because he had a child. So I was just like, he's gone through this, so it would be easy for him to understand me, which he did. He didn't even ask a question.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that because you say that alikuwa tayari na mkidi, a daughter, which is nice. It's not his first experience, which is good. He's not like new to this, so it's good. Ameshakuwa na this experience, but he's not the one who gave birth to that child. So that child definitely has a mother, and that means that msee mwenye anaweza kuambia what that whole journey is like is your mom. So anyway, yeah.
He immediately just asked, what time do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And I was explaining, I just want to go for a checkup, and that's it. This day was specifically my off day, but I had classes. So I went for my classes, and then we met. He picked me up in his car comfortably, and we went to the hospital. I paid for my checkup and everything. And he was okay with it. I checked how far along I was. The doctors asked me what I would want because considering my age, they knew, of course, it would be a struggle. So it was either I keep it or get rid of it. I told the doctors I haven't decided. So the doctors were like, you have like just 1 more month until you decide. Because after a month, you just have to keep the baby. I was like...
Were you visibly pregnant at that point? Not yet?
Not yet.
How far along?
At the time when I went for clinic, I was about 2.5 months in. Yeah. So it was...
2.5 months.
Not even visible at all. Yeah. And Bumpy was with me in every room that I went in. He'd hold my hand. He'd like tell me, you know what, it's going to be okay. Whatever you decide, nobody's judging you and you'll be fine. I'll walk with you through this. I've experienced this, so I know firsthand what you're feeling. I felt very comforted, very comforted. At the time, all my instincts were to get rid of it. I was 20. If anything happened, I wouldn't be able to raise this child on my own. I wouldn't. Even if I tried how hard at that time, I wouldn't. So after a while, I decided to get a procedure done and I terminated the pregnancy. It was the appropriate thing to do at that time. So that's what I did. All through, Bumpy was with me. During the day that I went, the days after, even after work, he'd try and pop by at the gate just to say hi, see me. And for some reason, he'd always bring me fruits. So I'd go to the gate, see Bumpy. Then when I go back to the house, my mom would always ask me, where have you gotten the fruits from? And I'm like, just outside here, I met somebody, like a friend of mine. She has given me the fruits. And every time I had to ensure that my mom knew it was a girl, because if she found out it was a guy, she would be very uneasy. So that's how it went for a long time. And after the whole termination, we got very, very close. Because he'd talk to me about work, my waitressing job. He'd talk to me about school. He'd help me with assignments. And then at the same time, when we were just very new together with Bumpy, I started doing... So at that point, I was being trained. It was going good. But now it was a load added on to the waitressing I have in school. So Bumpy would come in very handy when I've done training and I was told to write reports. He'd handle it. Like I'd just dictate what he'd write and he'd type it and I'd be done, which for me was amazing. So my mom found out that me and Bumpy are close. My mom was against it. She's like, no, you've just gone through one thing. Get time. Just be in your 20s. Learn about what you are in your 20s, what you want to be, the things, make money, go out, the likes. That's what she was all about. So she was...
That's actually good advice because especially kama umekuwa na ball and this person umekutana naye kama uko na ball, it means that and actually umesema kwamba the previous person alikuwa, the previous guy alikuwa amekata ball, so you are basically on your own. But then entering this relationship, entering into a new relationship, kidogo itakuwa a problem because you haven't actually taken time to be alone. And I feel like that's something in most of us watu nahepa. We don't like being alone. Maybe because we are scared of who we are. Maybe because we are scared of facing kama ni hizo mademons zetu and all that. And it's very important so that, because you see with the love, it's love is very complicated and you don't want to give somebody what you don't have. You need to have love for yourself and love yourself ile extent yenye unajua vizuri there's nobody mwenye anaweza kukupenda your design. So like just love yourself kwanza, ujipende tu proper and do for yourself things ambazo unaweza taka mtu mwingine akufanyie. So like do all that and yeah, kama ni kujipeleka out, kama ni kujibaya manguo and all that, you see, like that's very important because when you work on yourself, you'll be able to fully understand who you are, utajua desires zako, and yeah, like you'll be getting to know yourself. But imagine a situation where hujijui and ni msemgine ndio unampatia hiyo burden ya kukujua hiyo design. You see, it's really going to F you up because it's really crazy. Anyway,
not happy about the idea of me and Bumpy being close. Then at that time, my mom would look at Bumpy and she'd be like, he also looks very old. Yeah? Sophia, he looks very, very old. So ensure that whatever is going on is something that you're sure you're ready for. At that time, I'm not even sure about anything. I'm just enjoying this person because they'll write my reports. They're there when I want them to be. So it was okay on my end. So with time, we eventually started dating. A month or two later after. And it started very nicely. Very, very nicely. He had a car, so we'd go out for rides. And since I loved car rides, I liked food. That's what we'd do. We'd buy takeout, pizza, chicken, and then in the car, a ride. And that would be an ideal date for me. And it worked very well. He'd tell me about the struggles he's having with his baby mama, how he misses his daughter because he wasn't able to see the daughter often. So I'd sympathize with him and be like a shoulder to lean on. Then eventually, we started being intimate. So being intimate with him meant on days that I was from work, I'd have to lie to my mom. So I'd call my mom and I'm like, Mom, I can't get a matatu back home. I'll just spend the night at my friend's place. And my mom trusted me. She's like, okay, that's fine. No problem. The whole time, that just meant that in the morning, I've packed an extra cloth, folded it very well to fit in my bag so that my mom does not notice my bag is larger than usual. Spend at his place, do our stuff, enjoy the night, watch a movie, eat and all. And then in the morning, he'd drop me off at work or at school, depending on what was needed. And that worked very well. So 3-4 months into the relationship, issues with the baby mama from his end started rising and rising fast and heavy. We moved from being in our honeymoon to the baby mama texting me in a span of very short time. At that time, she'd text me with entitlement, for lack of a better word, because she knew she was the baby mama and she knew that this man had vowed to marry her. So in her eyes, I was like this bug that is coming to destroy their nice relationship, their nice parenthood that they're doing together. And every time I take the story back to Bumpy, it would be, no, she's dramatic. She already knows that nothing can happen and the likes.
Alipataje namba yako? Yeah, alipataje namba yako. So unless he has access to simu ya Bumpy, then there's no way ambayo this lady anafaa kuwa na namba yako, because yeah, okay.
Being my first time in such a dynamic, I was just like, you know what, it's okay. I'd take his word because he's the one who's here with me and I get to see him every day. So I trusted his word and took it blindly. So even if she'd text me, I'd have no problem because she's texting me and maybe I've spent the night in his house and she's texting me, I spent the night at his house yesterday, and I'm like, I was with him during the day. So I was just like, you know what, it's okay. So we had that baby mama issue going for a while, for about 2 months or 3. And then one specific day, it became, I need time. And I'm like, you just can't come to me and ask me for time. What's the time for? It's like there are issues between me and my baby mama. And now she's saying that I'll not be able to see my child. And I asked why. What is it you did? Because she wouldn't just wake up and say that you're not going to see the child. There has to be like a backstory. There has to be something. She's like, no, it's because of you. I'm like, okay, what about me has made your baby mama not allow you to see your child? He goes like, you spend the nights over, you leave your clothes. I don't hide your clothes when they come off, drop the baby. And I'm like, who's we? Who's dropping the child? Like, at times she comes, drops the child and cooks. And I'm like, cooks in your house? Like, okay. But initially you told me always go out to get your child from their house. What changed? He goes like, no, there are times I'm busy, so she'll just drop my daughter over before I get home and I'll find she has cooked. Then he'd say she's cooked.
I don't know the dynamics ya hiyo relationship yenye Bumpy alikuwa na another baby mama, but ikiwa uko na this person mwenye ulikuwa na in a relationship at some point, and then now there's a kid that alikuja akakuwa involved and you guys are no longer together, I don't see the need ya that partner of that ex of yours kukuja na like ukam kwako. Okay, kama Bumpy ako job, then how come the baby mama alikuwa analeta mtoi kwake nyumbani hadi apike? So like the baby mama had access to how ya Bumpy, that includes hadi kuwa na key cause anapika hadi kwake, you see. So sheesh, hapo kidogo ni kama kulikuwa na issue.
Of course that food will also be eaten by the daughter and she knows I won't have time when I get home. And if you listen to it, you're like, that's like logic sense. So I'm like, okay.
Doesn't make sense.
Because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, he's not home. She came. She dropped the daughter, cooked while he was not home. So nothing could have happened.
Yeah, but akona kia kwake, like that doesn't ring a bell. Like akona kia kwake, this lady has, this ex, this baby mama of his has a key ya kwake nyumbani. That should be, like that should be a red flag, because why does the lady have key ya hao ya huyu mse? Hata kama ni juu ya mtoi, like si utangoja time ambao nitafika home, I'll tell you utaniletea mtoi. Why? Because inamaanisha like ujui ni how many times yenye this baby mama basi alikuwa naeza enda huko kwa hiyo hao and just to do stuff No, like there's a lot of manze. Anyway.
It's fine. After a while, it got to a point that I would not see him on weekends at all. Why? Because it was time with his daughter. I understood it. I was like, you know what, that's fine. So what got my attention and became a fight was the fact that as much as I could not see him, it means I could not see him, text him or call him. Why? Because he was spending time with the daughter, and I'm like,
No. Impossible. Machali sijui kama nyi pia mna watch hii episode. Ikiwa unapenda dem, manze, you'll always make time, you'll always create time for that lady. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. It's this language ambayo it's a way of expressing our love. You see, you text this lady, unampigia, you have kama ni text manze, mnaweza textingi hadi midnight hata saa zingine, like because you're in love, you see. Kama ni calls, mtakoliana hours mkiongea, because that's how you express love, you see. And that is no matter what you're doing, no matter what type of job you're doing, no matter what engagements uko nazo, you'll always find an excuse ya kucall your partner. You'll always find an excuse ya kureach out, kucheki manze unaendelea aje, manze umekula, like hizi maswali za ufala tu, you see, because it's, and as ikukali ufala as much as other people wanaweza fikiria ni ufala, it's your way of expressing your love. You want to know how this person is, kama wako fiti and all that, you see, because you love and care and cherish them. So if you are not going to call this person, if hakuna hata desire yote ya kumtafuta, then it definitely means that this person is not for you. Either you are very comfortable in that relationship, ama she's not, ama umfeel.
so while you're doing this, you're not with your phone, or what's going on? Why can't you be texted or called? What's the reason? It's like, no, I don't like using my phone when my daughter is around, because she might think I'm not giving her quality time.
Kwani your daughter unafanya nini jamini yenye she cannot, yenye wezi fanya mashughuli? Because I don't know how old this girl is, but since anapelekwa na mamake, definitely means anaweza kuwa mdogo, you see. So she's probably a few years old, pengine 2-3 years old. A 3-year-old kwa how most of the time ni unamweka na watch TV, unaona. Pengine ako na simu anacheza game, vitu kama hizo. But because, and especially with men inakuwaga, unajua like men wanaga patience ya kukaa na watu hii sana, because kuna vitu unataka kufanya and this kid pengine anafanya hii, so ni rahisi sana uboeke, you see. So utatafuta a distraction. So I don't see anything about this guy alikuwa anaweza kuwa anafanya na any activity ambayo anaweza kuwa anafanya na the daughter yenye anaweza mfanya sasa, like just a call or a text itakuja ikae ni kama he's not giving the daughter attention unless he has somebody else. Kwa hiyo how now the daughter, which could be now the ex-wife, so it means that the ex alikuwa na couple home na the daughter and this girl na spend night time pamoja, and that is why you are not that's why you are not able to reach this guy during his weekends. Man, that's really crazy. That's really mdenge ulikuwa na roho. Najua kuna machali hapo nje wenye wana feel like but she's the one, she's a keeper, because Loki machali wapendagi commitment, wapendagi wanapenda kuescape na vices, wanapenda kuescape na a few things here and there. So ikiwa hii weekend anaweza toka na nini aenda kutana na mabeshte alafu apate madenge hapa na pale flirting ni nini, and then wafanye some stuff during the weekend. Ukipata mdenge mwenye like hana problem hata kama mjawasiliana weekend, I feel like she's the dream girl, you see. That is to machali wengine hapo nje, but alikuwa na patience ingine hapo wazimu.
And attention, I was like, okay, that's fine. So during the weekends, I'd do my own stuff. I'd just engage myself in my assignments, take more shifts at work just to cover up the time. That became our routine, and I was okay with that. Then eventually it now became, I couldn't now go to his house. I'm like, why? It's like, no, my daughter is going to school and coming back, and she'll be in my house for a while. I'm like, but you said the mom does not allow the daughter to spend more than a weekend in your house. What happened? It's like, no, the dynamics changed. She's gotten busy. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I understood. So with time, the evenings were out. I wouldn't spend at his house. So instead what he'd do, he'd come see me back kwa gate. So he'd come, call, say like, I'm outside here. So I'd sit somewhere on a stone, chat for hours and hours, and then he'd go back home. And I'd always ask, okay, since your daughter is home, who helps her with homework, who gets her ready, like unwinds her from the day and all? Or is she able to do that? She's like, yeah, she's old enough, she can do that. Then when I come, I'll just cook something light and then call it a night. I was like, that works. And then eventually it moved to, he wouldn't be answering my calls as he used to. Yes. So in a day, I'd call like 3-4 times. No answer. I'd call. When I'm free, no answer. And then at Johnny, after work, it's like, oh, I've been swamped with meetings. I've been moving around with my boss and the like. So I didn't have time on my phone. And I'm like,
to me, that's a red flag. So number one, ilianza na steps. Number one, akona mtoi wake kwa house, so you guys cannot text, call during the weekend, which is a street lie. Anybody mwenye the things ambazo zina sustaining a relationship is communication, number one. If there's no communication, then there's no reason for you guys to be together because you're not communicating. So that kidogo doesn't really make sense. And then number two, you guys are in a relationship and now your communication imekuwa mbaya hadi akiwa jobo, like he cannot call you, you cannot call him, ukimpigia shiki simu. Yet hapa nyuma mlikuwa mnakoliana, alikuwa akishika tu simu. So what has changed between hiyo time ambayo mlikuwa mabeshte na hii time yenye sasa now you guys are in a relationship? Is what has changed? When that happens, inamanishanga like Charlie is no longer interested in you. That is number one. Or number two, hata yuko mboka akona mse.
Oh, so you didn't have like 2 minutes out of your day just to text me and tell me that it's a busy day? Because that's what you've been doing. So why the change from the foundation we created on communication? It's like, no, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. Yeah, that was a lie. It did, in fact, happen and became a routine. To the point where now, if I called way too many times, he'd block me. So he'd be like, you're really distracting me from work. You're calling way too many times. And I need to concentrate and focus on work. And I'm like, how would I know you're having a busy day? You've not told me. You're not communicating to me. Day 1 has gone. Day 2 is when you're talking to me during the day. And it's a phone call that will last like 10 minutes. And you...
Day 1 imeisha, day 2 imeisha. And you guys are not communicating. He's not picking your calls. Anakublock. Ladies, if you ever reach your point and you call umse na umse ashiki simu yako, and that is our whole day, and then inafika point amekublock, just get away. Just leave that person wewe tafuta life yako. And this is why I said that this lady yako nafaa kuwa in a relationship na this guy only a few months after wamekutana, and that is like 2 months, and these 2 months tayari amesha bought mtu mwenye ako 2 months old ama sijui ni a month old. Like she wasn't ready to be in another relationship. Alikuwa nafaa kuwe tu solo, a spend to time peke yake kivyake, a figure out what she wants in life, what she expects in life. Ajipende, like ajipatie mapenzi ambayo anaweza taka mtu mwingine ampatie. Unaona, because if you don't love yourself that much, if unatafutanga if you only find joy in this person and outside of this person there is no joy in your life, then you really need to you really need to take your time off mambo na relationships and just focus on yourself. Go to therapy. Itakusaidia sana so that ujue what your issues really are, you see. Yeah, so that's really messed up. Don't tolerate that. Mse kama kushiki simu yako and that's a whole day imepita, mse kama anakublock, you just leave that person. Kanya kubwa usake life, because otherwise utakuwa disappointed. Inakuwaga hivyo because sisi men kama unapenda mdenge manze, utatafuta excuse yote ya kumpigia, na akikupigia utashika hiyo simu quick fast, unaona, because unataka kusikia kwa aje sauti yake ni nini. Yeah, and if a man doesn't do that, man, they are not interested in you. Just leave them, because that's the best thing that you can do. Hiyo time yenye kupigi, hiyo time yenye unapiga simu na ashiki, hiyo time ujue kwamba kuna mtu mwenye anashika simu yake. Naona inawakingi hivyo siku zote. They are not interested in you. Mwache wewe kanyaga kubwa and endelea na life. Achana tu na umse.
Expect me to just be okay with that. So we started having fights.
I think the lady alikuwa akona this anxious attachment style. Ile yenye una feel, because again simu upigi mara mingi sana. Ukipiga once twice mtu akose kushika simu, unajua that ako busy because yeye pia akona life, you see. Ukipiga sana vile anasema alikuwa anapiga sana, definitely inakuja inakaa desperate. And kwa mse kama huyu, that's something that he'd really want to feed on. So their partner's desperation, because now he's going to be a lord over this lady. He's going to be he can easily control this lady, because anaona kama this lady desperately needs him. And this guy ananipatia vibes za vibes za a misogynist, ananipatia vibes za a narcissist, and those are things that you don't want to put in the hands of a narcissist, showing ya kwamba wewe uko desperate. He'll feed on it like kuku. He'll feed on it like nyama choma, my friend. Sheesh.
And in the fights, the baby mama also started having fights with me. And then at this time, I'm young, and the baby mama is not also of my age. We also have a gap. So I'm like, hata nikiongea vibaya, nothing will happen. You see.
So how old?
But why is the baby mama calling this lady? Why is the baby mama calling this chile? And how, swali yangu again from the beginning, how did the baby mama have number ya umse? Unless hizi masiku zenye baby mama alikuwa anaishia kwake and anapika and wanakula and definitely it's like walikuwa na spend time pamoja hii weekend yenye this girl cannot call, this lady and this guy cannot talk. Unless during hiyo time the baby mama ange access for new mjama and then angalie nini inaendelea kwa audio boy, kuna kitu ambayo anafanya, kuna mdenge ako naye ama nini. That has to be the only reason ambayo the baby mama anaweza kuwa na simu ya mdenge. Other than that, there's no other reason ambayo inaweza make sense. I make sense kwa njia yote ile.
Was he? Because you said you were around 20?
I was around 20. He was around 31. So I wasn't bothered. I'd talk back with the baby mama, especially because she also would come talking very bad, and I'll be like, you know what? Let's play this game. So she talks, I talk. She talks, I talk. That's how it went. So I'm fighting with the baby mama. I'm also fighting with Bumpy. And in my head, I'm just like, you know what? This guy seems like a very nice guy, someone.
That's all that you could never win. If you're fighting na umse wako and una fight na baby mama wake, then you have to be the common problem when these two people are nayo, because you're in a fight with this guy mwenye ni ex wa this baby mama here. So what are you really fighting? Are you like, who are you really fighting for, and who are you fighting against? Like, don't you see that there's something enye hauoni? You're having this problem with this guy kuhusu mambo na communication and all that, and then you have this baby mama mwenye anakuambia a lot of shit. Don't you see that kuna problem? Like that's something ambayo utaki kujipata katikati yake. Like if you find yourself in that kind of situation, you just leave because it doesn't make sense to, for you to be there.
Understood me, helped out with work. He made my load of life easy. But it's not working out because I can't continuously be begging just to be communicated to and the likes. So with time, I had Bumpy, and I still were entertaining other people. But my mind was solely focused, and I was always crossing my fingers just for Bumpy to realize that this is what he wanted. So from that specific point, I started continuously begging and begging. So I begged to be communicated to.
Wow, that is really crazy. Man, like, I'm just looking at who this guy is, a narcissist. By all means, a narcissist. And what are you very vulnerable? The design, and you are now begging him to communicate now. Like you don't, ladies, you don't have to beg a guy akuongeleshe. A guy mwenye anakupenda atakuongelesha any time of the day, any time of the night. Utapiganga simu haitakuwa inalia sana kama iko kando yake. He'll just speak and mtaongea. If you're in a relationship and you have to beg somebody to communicate na wewe, just know you're in the wrong place. Toka hapo, because kuna msee mwenye anakungoja mwenye atakupatia hii kitu ambayo unaona kama una beg msee akupatie, because I can guarantee you 100% that ite menyo jamaa kuongeleshi, ite menyo ya begging, kuna mdenge fulani mwenye ya beg, kuna mdenge fulani mwenye actually this guy ana bombard na simu 24/7 so that ambongeshe tu. So just leave, because this is not your guy. You're with somebody else's guy.
Him to come see me. I begged him to talk to the baby mama to stop talking to me rudely. But nothing happened. Actually, in fact, instead of him talking to the baby mama to stop talking rudely to me, he'd summoned me for talking to the baby mama rudely. And I'm like, wow. Didn't she tell you what she said? And I was replying to this. And she's like, it doesn't matter. That's the mother of my child. And I'm like, wow. So are you?
But mdenge alikuwa myang, yocha tuseme tu. Like alikuwa young, 20 years old, she was still young. So pengine probably this is the first guy mwenye really fall in love with. Pengine ule wa kwanza alikuwa tu mse mwenye alikuwa amependa but si sana vile, and vitu zikafanyika, o jamaa akahepa. And probably this is the first guy mwenye it's like amependa hii design. But because there are a lot of red flags. The fact that this guy has to defend his baby mama, wewe ndio mse wake, but he's defending this other lady. Ya kwamba wewe mbona ulimwongelesha mbaya, huyu ni baby mama, huyu ni mama mtoto wangu. Kama ni mama mtoto wako, basi si mchukue basi mkae naye muishi naye, because it's like you guys actually have feelings for each other, because why would you defend this other lady?
Of your child because you're way too defensive? Or do you want to move on and be with me? It's like, I am with you, I am dating you, I'm not seeing anybody else. And I'm like, the last time I checked, people who are dating actually communicate. Like, your communication is work. It literally feels like I'm begging you to communicate with me, which is not what I want, which is not what we were. So, no. And he's like, you know what, that's fine. And he started, it feels like you can't take leadership from a man.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay, so I can't take leadership because I'm telling you of the tone we set for this relationship, and you are going against the tone. So now I'm telling you.
The head is actually very right here. And the guy is a narcissist, and now he's beginning to show his true colors. Anytime ambao a man amekuja ka invoke this very mighty and holy statement that hutaki kuchukua leadership from a man, just know that, especially if it doesn't make sense, just know that guy is a real life narcissist. So you need to stay away from that guy. Najua saa zingine depending on the relationship ambayo unaweza kuwa ndani yake, unaweza feeling like anytime ambayo una feel like you're walking on eggshells in a relationship, just know that you're in the wrong relationship, because this lady actually anafanya vizuri by arguing this guy, urging him that for them to set the tone ya this relationship. That's very very important. Ukijipata kwa relationship yenye una feel like manzi utaki kuguzia certain subject because it's too touchy, na utaki kuguzia that subject because una feel like msi hata kuona funny, vitu kama hizo, then you're actually in the wrong relationship. You need to let this person know what your view of this relationship is and where you'd want it to be, and that is at each and every stage, at each and every level. If you can't do that, then you're in the wrong relationship.
Night becomes the one who cannot take leadership from a man. And it was okay. And we broke up for, I think, a month. Then, because we lived in the same area, we bumped into each other, of course. So at this time, we've bumped into each other. I've stopped waitressing. I'm now finished training, and now I'm working, and then I'm still schooling now. So he didn't know any of it. So when we bumped into each other at home, he asked me, how is waitressing? How is the training? And I'm like, I stopped waitressing. I finished training as well. And now I'm an assistant and I'm schooling. He's like, oh, nice, congratulations. And he's like, actually, I was about to call you. I was like, why? He's like, no, I'm sorry about what I said earlier. And I realized that I was the one who was wrong. And I'm like, okay, that's good. Then I asked, what do you want? You're about to call me. Is that what you wanted to say? He's like, no, I had more, but I want you to come home as I cook for you dinner, and then we can talk more. And I'm like, no, it's late. One, you're telling me about this late, so I need to go home.
Manzo jamaa alikuwa sniper. That guy alikuwa na game if kuna kitu kama hiyo. That guy alikuwa na game. Like, ile umekutana na msee ndio like hata nilikuwa nikuvutie sahi. Nimecheki, nimereflect, naona kama ni kama nilifanya kitu mbaya. But usijali, hebu acha tuishie home nikupikie udishe alafu tuongee, si ndio?
My mom is home, my mom is waiting. If this is what you wanted, I'm sure you'd have communicated a bit earlier. That was that. We got back together. Things were looking good until one day I decided to check his phone. I checked his phone and I saw way too many things. I saw way too many bodies that I was not supposed to see. I saw way too many conversations.
Jamaa alikuwa na cash body kweli.
I was not supposed to see. And I did not know it was capable for a man to talk to that many women at a time. My brain could not fathom. He was talking to the baby mama and other women who he told me were workmates, which, yes, some of them were his trainees. It made no sense. But on asking him, he said that was him looking for his next person, since he thought that we would not work out or we would not rekindle what we had. And I was like, okay, since we have, I want them deleted. And I stood there. I want you to delete every picture, every contact, and every conversation. I want you to start afresh from a clean slate. And he's like, sure. He deleted everything, and I saw him delete them. But 2 weeks later, all those conversations were back from where they left off. And he just told these people that he was called in for work.
Because deleting his own messages, I change anything. If there was no official communication between this guy and these ladies, I'll that manze, pole nimewawestia time, sahi niko na mse, and so really sorry, have a nice life, wacha nione palita nifikisha. Then ingekuwa something else, but the fact that they did not have this conversation with these ladies, then 100% bado zitaendelea. Because it's not like imetoka somewhere, and when umegundua hizi messages, si ati like when umegundua hizi messages, so it's not like alikuwa amesha cut off communication na hawa wase even after mmekuja mkarudiana. So the fact that he's still communicating with these ladies after Merudiana, that has to tell you that there's something wrong with this guy. There's something wrong with this relationship, because the fact that he's talking to other women wenye alikuwa anaongea na wao wakati mlikuwa mme break up, sasa hivi tayari mko pamoja, so why is he communicating with these other women? That is a red flag.
To travel, and it was busy, and now he's back and they can't pick it off, and they all did very well. No questions asked, no nothing. At that point, things at home with my mom were also very rocky and shaky, and my job was doing well.
What do you guys think? Do you think huyu jamaa alikuwa tu danda ile design yenye hata kama ana chat na ama denge wengine hafichi messages zake ama azidelete, ama alikuwa anafanya deliberately, like alikuwa anataka huyu mdenge apate hizi messages, because the fact that zimepatikana mbili, my friend. What do you think? Alikuwa anafanya intentionally ama ilikuwa tu danda tu, alikuwa anapatikana by mistake?
What I decided to do is I decided to move. So on this day that I decided to move was not because things were rocky at home. Okay, it was part of the reasons, but the main reason was one day my mom woke up and decided to go to Bumpy's house on her own. In Bumpy's house, my mom met Bumpy's mother as well. So a few weeks prior to that, I was unwell and I was in hospital. But Bumpy had said that he was somewhere working and he could not get to me in time. So I understood, but my mom did not understand, because she was like, you're dating somebody who you've told you're in hospital and they could not drop work to come over. It makes no sense. So to her, it was like a red flag. But to me, I was understanding.
No, you can't understand that. Actually, ikiwa mdenge wako ako sick, it's like when utakuwa unashindaga huko just to take care of her, just to know akoaje ni nini, unashambaya fruits, ushafanya nini, like all this stuff to ensure that she's well taken care of. Like wewe uko hapo ndio unakuanga hiyo sauti, especially for mse kama huyo, that is what you'd expect. But the fact that he did not do that, he was no show hiyo period yote. Man, I really feel bad for this lady, because anakaa mse mwenye ni genuine, anakaa mse mwenye ni real, anakaa ule mse mwenye alikuwa anataka tu mse mwenye anaweza mpenda, and mse mwenye alikuwa na understand like vulnerability yake, and amchukue hivyo kama mayai and amdekeze tu ile polepole tu ile ambembeleze ni nini, like mse mwenye angeza kumfuli understand. But clearly this guy hakuwa that type of a person. Why? Because
specific day, the thing that prompted my mom to go to Bumpy's house was the fact that I was out of hospital. I was due for exams, so I needed to go get a student card that would allow me to enter and go back to do my exams. I was still not 100, but I had to do it on that day because that was the deadline. So I went, and I had told Bumpy about it and asked Bumpy, would you take me on your way to work? He's like, sure. So on that day, we've left the house with my mom, walking towards the stage. My mom sees me as I enter Bumpy's car. Remember, Bumpy did not see me in hospital, but suddenly I'm out of hospital and he's shown up. He's suddenly reliable and available. My mom could not fathom. So I've gone. I needed to be back at the house at 1 because I needed to take my medicine. So I went, was back at 1. By the time I'm back, I am calling Bumpy to explain to him how excited I am because I've gotten the card. I've also gone to school. I've confirmed everything. He's not picking up. He knows how excited I was in the morning when we were going. So it wasn't making sense. Why would he not answer my call? That day comes, and I'm back home at 1. At 2, the baby mama is on my case, sending me a paragraph. Oh, this man says the way you're trash. He's giving you breadcrumbs and you're accepting it. She goes on, and she insults me. You are a hoe. And then at that time, I was very, very, very petite. I was literally underweight. The baby mama is like, you need to go to the gym, work out, focus on getting a body, getting an ass that people can.
What do you guys think? Huyu jamaa alikuwa anaboka na this baby mama kuhusu hizi stuff, ndio? Because ukiangalia vizuri, the lady alikuwa amesema hapo awali that the guy Bumpy would always complain about the baby mama to Sophia. Aren't you guys seeing a pattern? Because number one, alicomplainia Sophia about who? The baby mama. And now, this woman, her baby mama, anaambia Sophia stuff zenye this guy amesema. So, interesting.
Turn and look at. You're here focusing on men that we have built, we have given children to, and you're here thinking that they can't be your man. And I was like, wow, okay.
That was savage.
I'm calling Bumpy endlessly because of what the baby mama has told me. Bumpy did not answer a single call, a single text, a single voice, nothing. In the evening, I'm like, you know what, I'll walk to Bumpy's house. I know by now he's in the house. I go and I knock the door. The mom sees me and goes hysterical.
Did he live with his mother?
They lived in the same compound. From how loud she's talking, and considering she's a very soft-spoken woman, Bumpy came out. Bumpy sees me. Bumpy's like, get out. And I'm like, why? What did I do that was wrong? Like, your mother was here insulting my mother, and you have the guts to show up. And I'm like, when? I just left with you in the morning. I was home at 1. I've been calling you since then. When did she have the time to come here? The mom is like, maybe she doesn't know. And I'm like, I look clueless. Of course I don't. If I did, I don't think I'd be here with all these balls. The mom calms down enough to tell me, your mom was here. She came, spoke to me very rudely, insulted me and all. And I was like, what? She's like, yes. And Mama Bumpy is like, your mom is very disrespectful, and I also expect the same from you. And I'm like, why would you expect me to be disrespectful? Because my mom was. It's like, because you're raised by a single mom, those cycles just go hand in hand. And I'm like, okay. And Bumpy is just standing, listening to what the mom is telling me. He doesn't step in, he doesn't stop the mom, he does nothing. The mom spoke to me, and then she went back to the house. Bumpy's like, you need to go. And I'm like, no, I'm not leaving here until you explain to me in detail what happened. Because you guys are telling me this story like surface level. I want to understand. And Bumpy tells me, I also don't know. I got home a few minutes ago. I was at home finishing up with a work call, and then I wanted to go back to my mom's house and check. And like be told and be given details. And I'm like, okay, so. At this point, I've moved out from my mom's house. I live in a nice, beautiful bedsitter that I loved. I had very, very few things, which was okay. At this time, I had given Bumpy money to buy me a laptop. He has not given me the laptop. My mom knows I gave Bumpy money to buy me a laptop because he has tech connections. So I wanted one genuine laptop, and I was sure that someone might knock me off or something. So the laptop had not come. My mom knows the laptop did not come. My mom cannot be convinced otherwise, other than Bumpy was just trying to shortcut me. I'm trying to explain to my mom, no, the delivery is just delayed. It'll be here. And my mom is like, no, these things you're saying do not even make sense. They do not add up. But I was not looking at it from my mom's view. I had my own view, and I was just trying to pull my mom into my view. So at that point, I remember the following day after being told that, say, I've gone home now from Bumpy's house. I've been told my mom was there. My mom knows the moment I lashed out like that, left the house and went. She just had this thought that I've gone to Bumpy's house. So I came back home and she's like, I forbid you from seeing that man again. And I'm like, how do you forbid someone from seeing someone? And I'm like, Mom, I'm old. You can't do that. I've gone to complain and complain and complain. We're not even having a productive conversation because we're all very mad, maybe at each other, and we're all raising our voice. So I'm like, you know what, this is fine. I storm out and I got back to my house. I'm there in my bedsitter now. I'm thinking, why would my mom do such a thing? Like, it makes no sense. And in the morning, I texted Bumpy. I was going to work. I just texted him and I was like, I know now you want nothing to do with me, which is understandable. So I'd want you to pack my clothes and put them. There was an M-Pesa shop that was well known in our area. So I just told him, pack my clothes, shoes, anything, books, anything, or my materials that I might left there for work or anything, pack them and put them in that M-Pesa shop. He's like, okay. So I asked him, what about my laptop? He's like, you know what, with your laptop, let me even just call the dealers right now and we'll figure it out. So we did figure out the story of the laptop, got my laptop, and then on the day I was going to get the laptop, Bumpy tells me that he's not mad at me and he doesn't want us to end the relationship. Instead, what we will do is he's going to get a second wife. Yes. So I asked him, why are we getting a second wife? He's like, because already in my mom's eyes, you're disrespectful and so is your mom. So according to the mom, that's not a wife she would want the son to have. But
who is going to marry this this lady? Ni yeye ama ni mama yake? That guy either lazima ni msee mwenye ako weak, mama's boy, ama he's just dumb. One of those two things.
Bumpy does not want to let go of me. I should allow him to have a second wife.
Oh, wait, you're not the second wife?
No. So I'd allow him to have a second wife. So the second wife would be known as the first wife because the second wife is the one who would be introduced to the mom.
I'm so sorry, you lost me, Sophia. So the woman he's with, are we considering, I'm sorry, his baby mama?
Yeah.
Are we considering that the first wife?
No.
Okay.
The baby mama is just considered as the baby mama. So the baby mama is aside. So there's me and the person he wants to bring in. Yeah? I was like, no.
Wait, just explain to me the logic behind the wife thing.
The wife thing was, my mom already showed that she was disrespectful. So Bumpy's mom also assumes I'm also disrespectful. So Bumpy needs a wife that he can present to the mom as a new clean slate. And I was not that. So I was supposed to allow Bumpy to have another wife.
And then you come in as a second wife?
I was the first. Now the other one was coming in as the second, but will be considered the first because she's the only one introduced to the mom. So in turn, what would happen is I'd stay with Bumpy, yes. I'd stay with Bumpy in the house, never be introduced to the parents, but we'd do life together as married people. And then the second one who comes in is introduced, the traditional things are done, and she'd also come live with us in the house. Yeah. So I was like, but if you want to be a polygamous man, that's not how it goes. She's like, no, you wouldn't know how polygamy goes because you don't have the traditional roots, so you wouldn't understand. And I was like, okay, you know what, makes sense.
Makes sense how, man. That's why I feel sorry for this lady. Kwa kuna zile time unaweza feel like kumweka tu patu na kumcharaza tu kiboko tu ile why is it that you didn't see all these things zenye zilikuwa wrong, because up to now manze any self-respecting woman and any self-respecting man anajua that anytime ambayo kuna msee mwenye amekuja ikakuwa suggested that atakuja kwa this relationship a third party, any self-respecting individual anajua that is when unajuanga that is your cue and you should just step out and you should just leave this person so that akue na this second person mwenye atakuwa naye, like, because it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work anywhere. That is not the dynamics za polygamous marriages. Zinakuwa very simple kwamba if you want a second wife, unamleta and anakuwa second wife. There's the first wife mwenye amepata hapa and then there's the second wife. Hakuna vile inaweza kuwa that huyu mwenye amepata hapa ndiye atakuwa second wife because sasa yeye ndio, because now who will you be having here, like what is the role about this woman mwenye amepata hapa as the mwenye amepata hapa, like what role is she going to play? Because haujamoa, hajapelekwa kwenyu, so yule ambaye amepelekwa ni this second one mwenye now is going to be the first. How and in which universe does that work?
So I was like, you know what, let me think about it. This time we're still keeping tabs. One day he's like, I want you to look for a woman that we can have a threesome with. Ooh. So that you'll be able to understand the logic of the second wife. Ooh. And how the sexual part would go, the house rules and the chores. I was like, where am I supposed to start doing that? And he's like, but I always see you complimenting women. It could be that you're bisexual. And I'm like, women are...
I really feel that this guy alikuwa very manipulative. Very manipulative, and that is something. But again, I'm not surprised because he's on a signs of misogynist. Those are signs of a narcissist. Mse mwenye ako very manipulative, very calculating, because anaona kama this lady, there's no man kwa life yake mwenye atamuita baba. So kuna amo zenye this person akonayo zenye anaweza tumia very easily. Namba ni ukuje umwambie anything to do with authority. Ukikuja tu pull that authority from your pocket. Na ukuje useme manze mimi ndio kichwa. Na wewe ndio shingo. Then atakusikia because there's no male figure, there's no father figure ambaye amekuwa naye kwa life yake. Amekuwa raised na single mom. So that is very manipulative because unacheki ashamshow hivyo, and then the next thing ni mazebu saka mdenge fulani, tukue na threesome, and then sasa ujue vile hizi dynamics zitakuwa na when we have that first wife hapa, and then sasa when the second wife, sasa ndio usisikie mbaya hiyo time. Webu saka mdenge fulani tufanye ka threesome hivi. Mcheki. Right.
For people, have you seen them? They are amazing. It's like, yeah, you'd only think like that because you're bi. So just maybe try it out on your own and then you'll figure it out.
Are you in a relationship with him at this point in time? Where's the baby mama? And how comes she has this kind of agency over who he's talking to and the timings, and he can't have his phone on? Where is she at?
Good question.
At that point, she never popped up. She was never an issue. She stopped texting. I don't know. She just, in regards to our relationship, she just vanished.
How did she know what she looked like?
She got my number from his phone because of how I was saved, and she checked the conversations. So I'm sure she just guessed according to how the conversations went. That's how she was able to get me. But at this point...
Had you met face to face?
No.
Okay.
I'd only seen photos of her. So I never know how she looked or anything about her. So at this point where Bumpy is telling me, per se, to get another woman so that we can have a threesome, she wasn't there anymore. The baby mama wasn't an issue as she was prior. So one day, specifically, Bumpy tells me that I want to take you out, and the role of us going out is for you to find another woman that you're going to be attracted to.
Can I just ask a question? Listen, I have no strong judgment on polygamy or polyamory. Do what you want to do. There are things I feel like maybe are not for me because I don't know how to do them. I don't have the skill set or maybe the emotional bandwidth. So I'm just curious for you. Is this something that was not out of the norm for you? Did you maybe grow up seeing this kind of dynamic or polygamy? And why was it almost like an easy sell? Why were you able to be won over? Like, okay, maybe it's something I'd consider.
It wasn't something I'd ever seen, ever. The way I knew polygamy to run and the way he wanted it was something I had never seen, ever.
Did he come from a polygamous home? Or maybe a religion that leaned towards polygamy?
No. Not at all. He keeps saying he was, but no, not that I saw. But so that happened. And the reason it was easy for me to be sold into it, it's because every time he kept telling me, you don't want to lose me, right? And I'm like, yeah, of course I wouldn't. Then do the things that I would want.
Tell you guys that this guy is a serious narcissist. And man's like, oh man, I really feel bad for this lady. Sheesh. Because najua there are men outside here when you are really praying ya kwamba the partners ambao wako nao sahi, they could just switch hata kama ni kwa wiki moja tu peke yake tu na this lady. Was this lady who damn. Because majaba bana situ kwa lala wenye wezi fanya ujinga. Hata kuifikiria tu peke yake tu ifike tu kwa hata afikirie tu that umefikiria kitu kama hiyo my friend. This lady was God sent. Jamaa alikuwa amepata msemo ni God sent. Wanaweza puta hapa na ufala za wachani.
Or I need to be a happy man. And he'd always go about, if you don't do it, if I'm not getting the woman from you, I'll eventually go out and get the woman for myself. And I'm like, but if you go get the woman for yourself, that's cheating because it means you have to date them, court them and all that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah. And I'm like, so do I get to know about it? Like, no, because you were given the opportunity, but you didn't do it. So I'm like, oh. So I have to choose between getting this woman and just letting him get one. Me being me, I was always on Tinder, looking for.
The question that I have to ask is, why was this lady in this relationship? Alikuwa myang sana yenye kuna vitu zenye hakuwa anajua vile relationships zina work. But the fact that tayari alikuwa amesha show jamaa that aache communicate na these other women, inaonyesha kwamba and understand that in a relationship there can never be 2, 3, 4, 5. It's only two. Two people in a relationship. No, hakuna ti mademu wengine, ni yetu peke yake. So why did she stick to this relationship in as much as alikuwa na all this bull crap? Because it doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't. You see, I'm really trying to see how it would make sense, and hainikali kwa njia yote kama kitu ambayo inaweza make sense. It doesn't make sense. So my question is, why was she in this relationship? Because any lady mwenye is self-respecting, my friend, atasikia ujinga kama hiyo and she's gone. And you will know that she's gone. Because ile design utatusiwa. Before block you will know that she's gone. But this lady alienda tenda kusakia huyu mjamaa mdenge mwenye anaweza fanya naye threesome. That is something, man, you can never try at home. Ulicheki ile video ule mjango mwenye aligongwa na kisu na mdenge wake. I'm not laughing at the guy. That was a very unfortunate situation that he was in, but I'm just imagining. Just trying to imagine that. Ukijaribu kusuggestia mdenge wake kitu kama hiyo, my friend, kuna vitu mingi zenye zitaenda missing. Because of your fall. Like, and women kama sisi, women are also very territorial. Hawezi taka mchezo na wase wao. So this lady did not really care about this guy, did not care about what he did. Tera alikuwa ameshachoka just being with this person, and there was just something else yenye ilikuwa inafanya akuwe na this person. Either alikuwa namtumia, so she didn't really care, ama she was just so vulnerable, she was just so desperate. Ile design yenye anything ambayo mjango alikuwa anasema she would easily do because she was so desperate. Alikuwa na feel like haizi pata mse mwingine, huu ndio mse wake peke yake. I really feel sorry for this lady. I think hiyo ndio chorus nitakuwa naimba throughout hii video. Really feel bad for this lady. Damn. But she's also this lady mwenye majamu wengi wanaweza taka sana wanguke kwa mkono yao so that waweze kuishi a single life while being in a relationship. She's just the perfect person for that. But unfortunately madenge wenye wako hapa nje si kama yeye. So majamaa inabidi tu tunakuwa disciplined tu siku zote, so that to mess up anything that is good. Sheesh.
Like my bio was looking for women for threesomes. That was my bio. And women would flood in my DM.
Interesting.
They would flood.
That's very interesting. Madenge sijui. I always feel like madenge ni kama kumebakingi na because of how they carry out themselves. Manzeto wakiwa pamoja, oh girlfriend, oh sijui nini, oh I love you, oh nini. Like women wanakuwa na very strange relationships na each other. Yeah, it's like inakwanga very, I think inaweza kuwa very easy for a lady akuja kuwa lesbian. I think it's very easy for a lady akuwa lesbian because it's like because kuna hizo ma feminine energies zenye zinaendelea hapo, and so there's some day can feel very easily that there is no one mwenye anaweza understand kuliko a fellow lady. You see, because sisi men ni wale wasewa, we have it either in our way or the highway, and we don't care about anything else. But with ladies, wanaweza patiana that affection and all that, so it's very easy, I think, for mdenge akwelele, especially kama amekutana na team mafisi. It's very easy akwelele because your feminine energies zenye zimewazunguka hapo, my friend. It's very very easy. Sheesh.
Oh my God, really?
Yes.
Real women or like bots? Or?
No, women that would give me their numbers.
You know what? That's kind of, I'm a bit disturbed, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, like go women. That's pretty.
Yeah.
Yo, that's wild. Yeah. Okay.
So they'd always flood.
And Tinder, you said.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So they'd always just see my bio and all send photos and their phone number. Photos and phone number. So it was easy. So the moment I first got one, I took just one number from Tinder. The conversation was simple. I didn't even need to sell anything. I was just like, are you available this weekend? Because I'm off this weekend. My man is off. Are you available? Can I have a threesome and see how it goes? Everybody was just like, yes. It's the first one I had, and I was like, oh, interesting. So we had the first threesome. My first thought was like, oh.
How was she comfortable even with the first one? And how do you have these conversations with this lady in the first place? Did she actually have her thing for other ladies Amanini? Because make it make sense. This guy may suggest kwamba vile una complimenting ladies inakaa ni kama ni bisexual, and then the lady, either this guy can be a very powerful cult leader. Ikiwa li convince mdenge na mdenge alikuwa straight. This guy is the next ule mjango wa Shakahola anaitwaje? Pastor Simji. Nadhani nimesahau hiyo jina. This guy akona characteristics zenye zinaweza fanya run a very successful cult if ali convinced this lady atafute mdenge mwingine wakuwe na threesome. Because now how did she initiate conversations with these women after hiyo, and like what was the process? Nilikuwa nakimbia kwa akili yake period yote that we are going to have a threesome na mdenge, because oh man,
this is not okay. It doesn't feel okay with me, because a threesome, I have to participate, and then there's a point I have to wait as the other woman and Bumpy are intimate. And then she also has to wait as Bumpy and I are intimate. And then Bumpy has to wait as me and the other woman are intimate. And it just didn't sit well. I was shaky. And Bumpy seemed easy about it. He was right into character.
Because ni stuff ambayo alikuwa shaifanya at some point. Definitely kuna it's something ambayo alishaifanya time fulani, so that's why he's very comfortable now. And given that tayari asha control ukafika ile level ambayo shafika, definitely alikuwa asha control other women wakafika hiyo point pia. So I wouldn't be surprised if utapata kama alikuwa in other relationships with other women yenye kulikuwa na hizo dynamics. Because mseo feel comfortable, like I'm even trying to think that for a man, because unajua vizuri kwamba huyu ni mdenge wako, so utakuwa tu guilty hata kama alikuja hata kama ni mdenge wako ndiye alikuwa amesema that nataka mfanye threesome, pengine mdenge wako ni bisexual, and then akasuggest that manze mimi nataka tufanye threesome, nataka nikutafutie mdenge mwenye tutafanya threesome. Manze you wouldn't hata sidhani kwa unaweza nyonji, like ukifikiria the fact that you want to do this deed na this other lady na mdenge wako ako hapo, manze like and that relationship can never work from your point, because tayari ushaingia kwingine pali penye like ushafungua this door ya umalaya definitely, because if umeifanya sahi inamaanisha utaifanya tena next time, tayari ushafungua hiyo door. That's a lesson that we should really learn, because anytime ambapo umefanya kitu mara ya kwanza inamaanisha utaifanya mara ya pili na mara ya tatu na mara ya nne. That's just how the world works.
And immediately in all the women we had, he would always want to ask, are you okay if you spend the night? Do you want to come again? He'd always just want to give them girlfriend roles immediately. Will you cook for us supper? Will you oil my back? Like such things. And the women were just like, yeah, okay, this.
So it happened more than once?
It happened more than once, more than 5 times as well.
And how did this sit with you, like being intimate with another woman?
It wasn't sitting well with me. I'd complain and complain and complain. And each time I complained, Bumpy would be like, you're just not being a source of peace. Honestly, you're not being a source of peace. And I'm like, what does a source of peace mean? I'm just complaining about the things you want us to do, and they're not sitting well with me. It doesn't feel like this is something I want to do the next one. It got to a point where he'd take my phone, enter Tinder himself, and talk to the women and plan those things. So I'd get home, say from work, I've gone back to my pet sitter, and he says, are you coming over today? I'm like, yeah, I'm even just gotten home. I want to carry the things over and come. And the woman would be there. And I was like, wow, okay. So after a few times of that happening, one day I just sat down and told him, this can go on. So I want to leave. I want to leave this relationship because it seems like I'm bending to do the things you want. And at that time, we're having so many threesomes that I cannot keep count, one. Also, he's still cheating with other women. So I'm asking him, it seems like you're a man who does not get satisfied. There's no way you'll have threesomes every other weekend.
This guy, ulikuwa nafua angalie genealogy yake vizuri sana. Was he a Kenyan? Because I feel like pengine he has to be a cousin to Mbang Ngonga. Because your design, kama you guys are having countless threesomes. Sisi majamaa siku hizi tunastrugglingi hata na tunastrugglingi kupita dakika ya 5. But this guy ako able kumanage mdenge wa kwanza, and then manage huu mdenge wa pili, and then awaangalie wakifanya mastori zao hapo. This guy lazima kwe kazini ya embang engonga.
And still cheat. So he cheat, and I'm just like, I can't keep up. So on the day that happened, 2 weeks later, he tells me, how about we move in together? Instead of me doing shopping in your house or you paying rent and all that, let's just have this house. And his house, rent was not paid because it was their house. Mm-hmm. So I was like, are you sure? And it came at a point where I wanted to move from my bedsitter to a 1-bedroom. So it's like, instead of looking for the 1-bedroom, the day you said you were moving, because I had found a house and everything, so I was about to go pay. He's like, no, instead, I found a lorry, you'll move your things to my house. I was like, oh, okay. And then at this point, my mom has stopped being bitter with Bumpy. Now they're being friends to a point where we can go out together, hang out together. So I was okay with it. I moved in. On moving in, I got pregnant, I think two months later. So I found out I'm pregnant, and I've not even told my mom I moved in with Bumpy. So I'm just like, okay, so which one do I tell her first? So I first told her, oh, Mom, I moved in with Bumpy. And my mom is like, that's okay, but we need to do the traditional steps. At least just one before anything happens. And I'm like, why? Just in case. And I don't know, she always kept saying, just in case something happens, you need the men. Like, wale wa baba wa boma, you see? And I was like,
alikuwa naona mbele kukuliko, and that is something that parents usually do. They always, tayari wameshaishi miaka mingi kukuliko, wako na a lot of experience kwa hii dunia kukuliko, no matter what generation ulikuwa. At times tunakuanga wafala yenye tuna feel like kuna this generational gap, so as a result hawezi kukushow shit. And we forget that wame experience life vile sisi pia sasa tuna experience life, and what they see wakati wamekaa chini, wewe huwezi ona hata ukisimama juu ya mti. So yeah, you are actually lucky that you had a parent mwenye actually cared. Otherwise you would have been double effed.
Okay. And by traditional steps, she means the conversations that happen to finalize a marriage in the traditional way. Okay, so the conversation of marriage between the two of you and your mom was already something that was in the air.
Yeah, it was always there. It's something she always asked. What's the end goal? What are you planning? When is it happening? And I'm like, I know I'm planning this. This is what we talk about with Bumpy. But now the when is on his end. So when I moved in, she just was easy about it, but insisted with the traditional men coming home. By the time I told her that, another 2 weeks later, I told her, Mom, I'm pregnant. And even her worry went through the window. She was now excited to be a new grandma. And now considering she raised me, I was an only child. So she was really, really excited. So she was really happy and now stopped worrying. It seemed like now once I've told her I'm pregnant, the planning of the traditional steps took a slow pace.
Oh, I would have assumed that
it would have gone faster.
It would have gone faster.
So it went for a slow pace for a while, just until her excitement ended. And then from there it was now, Baba Bumpy needs to come. We need to decide, all that. So in a span of a month, it happened in October. The men came, the dad came, the parents and all that. They got to meet my family, and that happened. And that was beautiful. We went back home now to our marital home, and things went well.
Was his mom more warm towards you?
Yeah, she had changed. She had become very fond of me. To a point where she would call me, send me for errands in town. We became very good friends eventually, once she got to understand my side of the story and my mom's side as well. Yeah. And then as pregnancy grew, my pregnancy was the most beautiful. I had no morning sickness, no nothing, no cravings, no nothing. I was just a normal person with a growing belly. And my tummy did not show until it was 7 months. So all through I'd work, I'd do my jobs very well, I'd do everything. And then there was this one point I remember we were being intimate with Bumpy. And I remember telling him, I'm feeling very uncomfortable, very out of breath. And intimacy just doesn't sound exciting as it used to be. This man looked at me with a straight face and told me, if that's the case, how about unitafutie msichana nitakuwa nalala na yeye while you are in your last months of pregnancy. What he said is, at this specific moment, what I told him, his reply was, how about you find me a woman that I can be intimate with in your last months of pregnancy, since you're not able to be intimate with me as your husband, because I have needs. I looked at him baffled. I'm like, wow. And he laughed and brushed it off and he left. The thing is still ringing in my mind. I'm like, why would...
Those are zile jokes zenye zinakuwa na some truth to them. Kuna zile jokes zenye zinakuwa tu just jokes. But then kuna zile zenye mtu ata joke but they actually mean what they are saying. Based on your reaction, watakuja wa change your tone so that ikae ni kama walikuwa na joke, but they actually mean what they are saying. And given the history of this nigga, 100% alikuwa anamaanisha kitu alikuwa anasema. Alikuwa anataka umsakie mse mwingine mwenye anaweza dishi itemenye bado uko kwa semester yako ya mwisho. Well,
since he brushed it off, I thought he just said it. So 2 days later, I addressed it and he's just like, no, it was just a thought. It would be nice and all. In the process, there's a friend, I don't know if I should call her a friend, but there's this person that was really into Bumpy and really into me. And Bumpy was also really into this lady, but I wasn't. You see? And this specific lady, we had lost touch, but she wanted to come back into this dynamic. So she was looking for me in social media, looking for Bumpy on his pages and all. So she found me and she's like, oh, I want to visit you guys. Did the relationship move to the next level? I'm like...
Lesson of the day, kids, is ona zile vitu zinafanyikanga majuu. That's why majuu utasikia kama kuna divorce rates za juu sana is because of hizi ufala. Wacha tuachie wasewa majuu vitu za majuu. Mambo na threesomes sijui ni nini, like wacha tuachie majamaa hizo vitu, cause those things can never work kwa sisi wa Afrika. They can never work. Hazijawakia hao wase pali wako, that's why kuna divorce rates za juu. And so hazitatuwakia sisi pia. Whenever umekuja ukakuwa na, whenever a couple wamekuja ukadecide kukuwa na threesome, mmeshafungua this door that you guys have no power to close, because mchovi asali huwa chovi mara moja. And tayari this lady alisha bend principles zake na morals zake, akakubali kuwa na other women so that wakuwe na threesomes na her guy. So if you bent these principles, if you bent principles zako mara ya kwanza, what will prevent you from bending them again the second time? So kama ulikuja ukaeka ego yako chini, ama ulikuja ukaeka jealousy yako chini, ukakubali mkuwe na threesome na some lady, wadhani umse atafeel aje next time ukisema kwamba you don't want to do it? Yeye tulishafanya mara ya kwanza. It won't make sense to him. So if utai kujipata kwa situation kama hii, don't do it the first time. So if you don't do it the first time, hakutakuwa na second time, because you didn't give in mara ya kwanza. So lesson of the day, kids, is wacha tuachie wasewa majuu vitu zao. Sisi wacha turani stuff vile tumejua kuirun.
Yeah, we got married and I'm pregnant and I'm almost due. She's like, oh, perfect, let me come and help.
Was she one of the ladies that you'd previously had a threesome with?
Yes. So at this point, and I explained to her.
That's why I feel like this lady was too young. Like she was too young. Like she didn't understand how the world works. She didn't understand ya kwamba she's dating, she's in a relationship and she's actually pregnant with a child mwenye umse mwenye budake ni somebody mwenye ako 10 years older than her. Like she didn't fully understand the implications za hizo, because that means already this guy is a narcissist, already this guy it's like any misogynist. So hizo tayari ni ammo enough for him. But then the fact that he's 10 years older than you, this guy is always going to make you feel like a child with every single statement, with like he will make sure that you always know your place, that wewe hauna sauti, yeye ndiye akona sauti. And then the fact that he is a man, my friend, ooh, like this lady alijipata kwa very difficult situation, and nobody should ever find themselves in, because it's crazy, it's mad crazy. Like nobody should ever, and I pray that nobody else ataijipata kwa situation kama hiyo. I know definitely there are people in your area going through such relationships today, but I pray and hope that it will never be you, it will never be me. You see, that we'll always know our value, we'll always have this backbone to stand for what is right, and know that we should never conform or change who we are so that to impress the next person, but that this person should always love us for who we are, and nothing more and nothing less.
Now we're not doing the threesomes, so I'm still okay visiting. She's like, yeah, I just want to visit, see how you're doing, so because I still consider you as a friend. I'm like, cool. So she came, she visited.
You're not friends.
I'm there in the kitchen, because when she came I was already in the kitchen. So I've gone back to do what I was doing in the kitchen, and I've left her with Bam. Ladies,
mdenge wako, rafiki yako, that is a female friend, should never have any relationship with your man, because they should never be close. Hawafai hata kuwa na namba ya mse wako, na mse wako hafai kuwa na namba yake. You should always establish that rule. You should always make it very clearly. If anything, hata mabeshte zako hafai hata kujua mse wako, because tumeishi kwa this very crazy world yenye, especially if you're in a good relationship. Kama uko na mse mwenye you don't even feel safe around, and you're in a relationship and you feel threatened, mse mwenye ucheki fiti sana, then let people know that who that person is, you see. But if you're in a relationship ambayo it's just good, that is going on well, your parents already wanajuana and all that, this guy anajulikana kwenyu, wepo anajulikana kwao, then just leave it at that. Mabeshte zako wasimjue, because we live in a very crazy world, and if mabeshte zako wanajua that your relationship is going on well, they will really hunt for this guy. And if the guy ni mwenye hana principles, mwenye principles zake haziko very strong, and he is a guy, he'll just be a guy, you see. Atakuja ajipate ameke hiyo tipu uko ndani. So ladies, mabeshte zenyu wasikuwe mabeshte za machali, because men hatunanga girlfriends ati uni beshte yangu tu. Na unakuwaga na umse mwenye unatafutanga tu chance, siku yenye kutakuwa na mwanya hivi uko ndani, si ndio? But ati ni mdenge tu ati ni beshte yako, it never works that way. So this is why I feel like this lady was too young for this relationship. This lady alikuwa delulu, alikuwa na feel like the world in a work in a certain type of way, nyedi yako na control, but it never works that way. The fact that you allowed this lady mwenye mlikuwa na threesome na a few months earlier akuja watembele, what do you expect? Like, are you expecting that they are just going to behave ati sasa mjango atakuwa anaangalia mdenge afa nafikia tu mazeni mkul, na akose ku act on hizo impulses zake kama alidini the mara ya kwanza and he was at home with it? What are you expecting?
I come back and they're all over each other, and I'm like, what am I seeing? And they do not even seem startled or baffled by the fact that I've walked in. They just continue with whatever they were doing. And I'm just like, okay. Then I went back to the kitchen. finished what I was doing. At this point, I'm crying. Bumpy came to the kitchen. He's holding me and I'm like, don't touch me. Just don't touch me. Thank you. And he's like, why? I'm like, because, once we got pregnant, we had a rule. The pregnancy was like our clean slate. The baby is not here and you've already gone back into things we made a rule a few months ago. How are you going to manage with a whole child in our lives for the next 25 years?
Yeah, that's a real question, and that is something yenye MNCP at some point itabidi tumefikiriaga that it's okay that wakati tulikuwa tuna grow up tulikuwa tunajijua, so kila shimo tulikuwa tunaweza dunga, which was okay because tulikuwa tuna grow up and we were just being boys, sindio? But at some point we just have to grow. At some point lazima ufikirie that if you're going to have a family, then hautaki kufungua this portal ya ofisi design yenye wewe huwezi ona denge. Yani ukicheki tu denge tayari tayari ushamuitisha namba, tayari ushaanza kumdm, tayari ushaanza kupiga mahesabu vile unaweza mkula. Like at some point inabidingi unaacha kufikiria hivyo kama mtoto and just be a grown up ile design yenye unaanza kujiprepare for this life, because especially if you are thinking of marriage in the near future, you have to prepare for it. Hizi vitu just need preparation. Huwezi kuwa tu ati wewe ndio wa mlambezi na wa mnyonyezi and then una expect that utatulia ati manze usikii sasa niko na wife sasa nimetulia. Na you're just fooling yourself. Haujatulia, ile tu umehibernate na utapata tu ile kitu ambayo itakuamsha. So usifungue hiyo portal, usifungue hiyo mlango, achana nayo. Just prepare for marriage by number one, embracing your thought ya kukuwa na one partner and staying true and loyal to that lady. And then ikiwa uta survive the first month and the second month and then a year na hujakuwa na mdenge yote, huja entertain any thoughts, kitu ambayo unafaa uelewe ni it doesn't mean that sasa because of that decision of years sasa hautakuwa unaona madenge. Madenge ni wengi, utakuwa unacheki mdenge mwenye pengine hata ni msupa hata kuliko demu wako, but lazima ukuu mse mwenye uko na resolve, unaona, because remember tuko over 8 billion people sahi na a big number ni women. So if wewe kila shimo ulikuwa unaona, if wewe kila shimo ambao ulikuwa unaona unadunga, utamanage hii namba yote, manze utakuja ubaki wewe ni firimbi. Kwa mse mwenye unaweza kuwa loyal to mdenge wako in the same way ambao huwezi taka akuwe na mse mwingine so that wewe unaplayiwa. Is the same way mwenye women hawatakangi hiyo mambo ya kuplayiwa. So just practice, because practice makes perfect. Practice kwa na mdenge moja, mwezi moja, miezi miwili, 3, 4, ukimaliza mwaka you're good to go. So the next month, the next year pia ukiamua kwamba unataka kuitest hivyo pia ipange tu hivyo tu, and then hivyo tu ndio unajipanga kuwa like in a very serious marriage enye ni monogamous. But if wewe mambo ni kutafuta pale unawezeka hiyo tip, utapata na utakuwa na hiyo tip kila siku ya maisha yako. That's just facts.
What was the rule?
The rule was no more women and no more threesomes. We are going to go back into a normal family dynamic. No more sexual experiments. That was the rule. And that rule was one that he gave, actually. Yeah. So I was very surprised that he'd go back on something he said. And he's like, yeah, I know. But he starts to justify. He's like, but she came, her tits are showing, she looks all sexy. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay. I served myself my food and went to the bedroom, watched my movie, and just operated as though they were not there. He came and he's like, it's okay, I've told her to go home. And I'm like, you seemed excited. She was here, so just stay. I'll be fine. I locked the room. He thought I was joking. I locked the room and he wasn't able to enter the room and access me. The morning I woke up, went to work. I think it was my last day of work because my due date was really approaching. But this girl was still there. She was asleep on one end of the couch and Bumpy was on the other end of the couch.
What do you mean there? When you woke up the next day to go to work?
She was still in the house.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
After I've been told that, she left. So I was very surprised. I was like, oh, interesting. So she sees me, Bumpy sees me, he's awake, and he's like, you locked the room? And I'm like, yes, I know. The girl is like, I'm sorry, Bumpy told me about the argument you have, and I'm sorry I went against it. I'm like, you're sorry because Bumpy told you. I also told you before you walked into the house. So you respect nothing about me or about Bumpy.
Well, what did you think would happen if you had her over? Did you genuinely think that she was just coming to see you guys, see how you guys are doing?
Genuinely, yes. I just expected her to be a friend and to take what I told her.
She was not a friend in the first place. This was some lady ambayo mlikutana na Tinder, mkakuwa na wakati mlikuwa na hizi plans za threesome. So she was never the fact that hata mkuwa mna communicate na she was never your friend. So don't expect this lady to be your friend. She's not your friend, she will never be your friend, and yeye pia atakuwa opportunist. Because again, women mnakuwaga your own enemies. Like you don't need a man to be your enemy. Women mnakuwaga your own enemies. So what you expected was wrong. You expected wrong.
As that. So I genuinely expected her to come see me pregnant, I don't know, help around the house and leave. But that's not what happened. But later on, I came to know that Bumpy actually found her on social media and told her that I was okay with the threesomes. So she came knowing what Bumpy told her. And what I told her about we're no longer doing threesomes, the moment she told Bumpy about it, Bumpy was like, we've just spoken about it and we are go. So she came knowing that our threesomes and that whole dynamic is a go. So she just came and picked it up, from where she left. But from my reaction, she now knew something was off, and she was willing to now leave us alone. And I was like, since Bumpy is the one who's giving us go-aheads around this house, and I have nothing to do with it, let him decide. As for me, I have to go to work. I went to work. I moved around my day very well.
Which is, again, very wrong. Tayari unaishi na mjamaa hapa. So this is basically a house. You guys are now man and wife, sindio? So women, kitu ambao mnafaa mlearn, and it's the same lesson yenye men pia wanafaa learn, is that women watatest boundaries zako so that waone goalposts, waone walls zako ziko thick kiasi gani. Na men pia watatest boundaries za mwanamke so that wajue wanaweza hepa na vitu up to point gani. So you need to be this person mwenye uko na this strong resolve ile yenye huwezi kubali ujinga. Because ikiwa a man atakuja kutest and then aone kama ulikuja kwa compromise kwa kitu ambayo ufai kwa compromise in, and I'm not talking about these other stuff zenye your way of doing things. At some point as you grow and you're with this person, itakuja ibadilike and mtakuja mzoeane, si ndio? But now I'm talking about compromise ya kuallow third parties. Once umekuja ukaallow hiyo kitu, my friend, just know that tayari umeshafungua hiyo mlango na haitaifungwa. Because this man tayari ushampatia certificate ya kukula mdenge yote yule, na tayari ushamuonyesha kwamba wewe mwenyewe unaweza tafuta. So don't ever do that.
I came back home and she was still home. And me,
you're the lady of that house. So ebu show yourself to be one. Like kuwa na backbone, like say no. Na useme if it's not going to be vile nataka, then I'm going to leave. You see? Kuwa na backbone. Usikue tu mse mwenye like wewe you just agree with everything hata kama una kama this is wrong. Because that person had to walk over you like no man's business. Seriously?
Months, I just wanted to be in my house with my husband. I just entered the house and asked, why are you here? Is what I asked her. Why are you still in my house? Bumpy's like, why are you talking to her like that? I'm like, because she's in my house. She is a guest. She needs to leave. She's like, oh, Bumpy told me to stay. I'm like, I'm the woman of this house and I've told you to leave. I took her clothes, threw them across the living room, and I'm like, leave right now. My kid was around 7. And she's like, I live very far. And I'm like, I don't care. Just leave my house now. Bambi is like, no, it's okay. Let her spend. And then she can leave in the morning. I'm like, you know what? That's what you want. I will go to my mom's house and you will stay here with your guest. And in the morning when she goes, you will tell me, your wife, if you want me back into our house. And he slapped me.
Pause.
And I and the lady all looked at him like he was crazy. This lady just took her clothes and left. And I was like, oh, now you're slapping me in front of another woman. Because I'm asking the woman who's not your wife to leave. And he's like, yeah, because you and this pregnancy, all you've been doing are things that you want. And I'm like what, for example? Because the only thing I've told you right now is I want the woman gone. But you seem not to want her gone. He slapped me again. And I'm like, okay, I think, Bambi, something's wrong with you in your head. Because you can clearly see that I have your child in my tummy, right? And I feel like he was in a trance of anger. The moment I said, I'm having your child in my tummy, I'd see him like awaken from something. Like he'd shake his head like he's just waking up from a trance. And I asked him, are you okay? He's like, I'm so sorry. And at this moment, I don't even want him to touch me.
The trance that he was in ni ile imagination alikuwa anafikia tu vile atakula mdenge. That was the trance yenye alikuwa ndani yake. So, and the fact that he slapped you, real men hawaguzangi wanawake ati wanawapiga. Like real men don't do that. So if you're a man and you hit a lady, you really have issues. You're not a man. Wewe ni kiumbe kingine tofauti. And ladies, if a man hits you, then that is it. Atakuwa ameshafungua hiyo mlango. So if he hits you once, inamaanisha atakuhit twice. Na akikuhit twice, inamaanisha atakuhit 3 times. So no matter what that man tells you, a man loves, and love operates kwa njia tofauti, and one of those ways ni kuwa patient and inakuja na self control. So at times unaweza kuwa na mdenge wako anaweza kukasirisha, and hata kikukasirisha level gani, the last thing ambayo itakuja kwa akili yako ni kumpiga. Like it doesn't, kwa a normal man, it doesn't work that way. Like the first thing ambayo inakuja kwa akili yako hata kama umejamia mdemo wako, the last thing ambayo itakuja hapo ni kumpiga. Like it never works that way. So for a man to do that to you, it means number 1 that he is very weak, and then number 2, it means that you need the universe giving you a sign of just leaving that person and getting a life. Because if you don't do it, tayari ameshafungua hiyo mlango ya kukupiga, and that is what he'll do for a very long time.
I went to the bathroom, I showered, he wants to get into the bathroom with me, and I'm like, don't try me. I go, I oil my belly, I do what I always do. Then I use the laptop. On using the laptop, I open WhatsApp. Like there was an icon there, so I'm just opening it just to check if it was my WhatsApp, because I was also using the laptop prior. And to my surprise, it was his WhatsApp. Still flirting with his baby mama, still flirting with another woman, and people he used to train when he was employed. And there were a lot of nudes, a lot of thank you for coffee. It was nice spending the night with you. And once I looked at those chats, I was just like, this is the night he told me he had a boys' thing. This is the night he said he had Bible study. This is the night he said he had a business trip. All that.
Jamaa alikuwa anafungua ukurasa za hiyo Bible kweli kweli. Man, this guy is a genius. Nadhani men's conference tutamtafuta atupatie tips, because man, he was really getting away with stuff and you don't get away with easily. Sheesh.